Hello, Search here for the Backyard Driving Range. We have a question that came in today from David Wolf, WLFF in Lakeland, Florida. He's right down there with our club fitter, Bill there in Lakeland. So David says, Bill Marshall in Lakeland. So David says, I have been using your swing for a couple of years now and lowered my handicap from 18 to almost single digits. Thanks for the tips and videos. Regarding setup, I know you stress proper square alignment to the target with the feet and the club. However, how does that work with offset clubs? My 5-wood and my hybrids are slightly offset. Do I align the club with my feet with the aiming line? Excuse me, do I align the club and my feet with the aiming line? Target, which would have, or in this case he puts the word target after it, meaning he's aiming towards the target. Remember, if you're aiming at the target, that aiming line is a target line. Say you were trying to hit a draw or a fade, which you have to aim to another point, that would be purely an aiming line, because because you're trying to work the ball to the target one way or the other. He said, let me read that again. Do I align the club and my feet with the aiming line or the target, which would have the club face aiming left of the target line? Or do I align the club face with the target, which would then have my feet aiming right of the target? I find that when I align my club with the target, then the ball wants to go left. Okay, just to make sure I'm really saying some of the right things here about offset golf clubs, I called Doc Griffin and I talked to him about this because of the concept where he says he has offset hybrids, okay? Now, what is the definition of offset? Offset means that the shaft of the club is coming in a little bit forward of the aiming line, okay, of the leading edge of the golf club. All right, so let's go to school and have a little class here on golf clubs, because this is critical, because Dave is presenting a problem that could be really, really critical for a lot of folks. All right, now, I personally don't really have any offset golf clubs, and I'm going to pull out the hybrid here now. And again, even my hybrid doesn't have really an offset on it. It's got the shaft is ahead just a little bit. So offset clubs are where the leading edge of the golf club is the bottom line of the club here. That is what you always want square to your target, okay? Now with an offset club, this shaft would be coming in more way out here, and the head, that leading edge would be way behind the shaft. The concept of offset is that if a player doesn't have enough club head speed or whatever, or is a little late at squaring his club up, the offset gives that face a fraction, a thousandth of a second or whatever, a little bit more time to square up and hit straighter shots. Now the question, or the problem that can happen with this is if you square the club up well without offset, and you have offset golf clubs, that club will be coming in late, and the club face will be shut by the time it hits it, if you have the ability to square up a no offset golf club, okay? And sometimes what I see a lot of with players is they had blade clubs, or they had very graduated offset clubs, or clubs with almost no offset, just a little, and they get a new set and they got a lot more offset in it. All right. Now graduated offset means that they have less, almost none, or just a little with say the wedges through about the 8-iron, and then as they go from 7, 6, 5, 4 on up, they get a little bit more offset because a longer club is a little bit more difficult to square up. And so they get that in there. Sometimes golfers change clubs, they get more offset in their clubs, and boom, all of a sudden they're making the same setup, making the same swing and hitting pulls because the club face is coming in a little bit late because of that offset. That 1,000th of a second can make the difference. All right? So the big question Bob says is, how do you line up, that he asked was, if you line up the face, the leading edge of this hybrid, or any club, I'll go with the hybrid now. This leading edge right here. I always say line up the leading edge. Doc says you got to line up the leading edge. Doc Griffin said that. Why? Because the leading edge represents the alignment of the face. You can't always go by the top line, because the top lines are especially with any clubs with loft on them, that could be coming back a little bit more, and it's not the point of impact where the club hits the ground and where the ball will be hitting it sooner. So you always want to go by the bottom line here, what we call the leading edge. Okay. You always want that square because a club face is flat, it's square, and therefore to be square you have to line up here. So you always line up the leading edge. Now naturally, if I had an offset club and I'm lining up my leading edge right here, an offset club with the shaft more forward will tend to have my hands looking a little bit more forward like that. All right? So you line up the leading edge. If you line up the leading edge at the target, you should be able to stand here and be parallel left. Now, if you had an offset club, and naturally, as Dave said, if you line that offset club up with the shaft at the target, not the shaft, but the leading edge at the target, you'd have to open it up because you've got to move your hands here, and you will be to the right. Or if you leave it, the whole key is you start fidgeting around, you're going to get into a problem. Offset clubs demand that you still line the club up with the leading edge, whether it be an offset driver, fairway woods, hybrids, all the way down to your wedges. You always line the leading edge and make your making the H or your upside down T for your toes, knees, hips, and shoulders. You always make them off the club face. Remember this alignment, our ball position line here off the alignment arrow, between the alignment arrows, is the one that tells you the ball position. So you always want that club face square all the time. Everything starts from your club face square, which means the face is at a right angle. Best way to do that's the leading edge. Okay, so hopefully this answers this question. Alignment is critical. As you know, alignment. Don't play golf without it. All right, and going through the correct procedure, and especially always starting with your club face square to the target, the leading edge square to the target, is the way to be able to get in and making these right angles that you have to have in making the H or making the upside down T as far as from the ball to the toe line. Okay, and once we talk about toe line, we know it's toes, knees, hips, shoulders, and eyes are all parallel left or right of your target, of your aiming line, depending on which side of the ball you're standing. Okay? Well, that's it for the Surge for today, explaining about how we handle offset golf clubs. And I guess one last thing is, if you never played offsets before, and you got them now, and you're pulling and pulling, you're going to have to change your swing a little. You might want to consider going back to blades or less offset, exactly like you had before, because that can change your release point and make a difference in your swing. All right, well, that's it for the Surge for today, and I'll be talking with you all soon.